to be confused with actual religions, Confucianism, Taoism, and Shinto are actually more aligned with philosophies than they are religious beliefs. Nonetheless, they developed during the classical age, and they all fall under the category of belief systems. So in this presentation, we're going to address what makes the Eastern belief systems of Confucianism, Taoism, and Shinto unique, but also similar to some of the other belief systems we have learned about in this unit. So at long last, we are finally going to address Confucianism, the belief system that made the classical Chinese dynasty, the Han, so famous. So one of the things that I want to emphasize about Confucianism is its ideas that you must live a moral and ethical lifestyle. That is the heart of the premise that Confucius was conveying in his work known as the Analects. The other important component to note about Confucianism is the focus on filial piety, or veneration of one's ancestors. The way I think of it is family loyalty, filial, family, and piety, meaning extreme devotion. These two issues combined, honoring of the family and the adherence to strict morals and ethics, are the heart of the Confucian principles. One of the things that Confucius advocated is that both of these ideas combined together must be a part of reciprocating relationships. These reciprocating relationships, or relationships that essentially come full circle, are not only the heart of the family, which is the central unit in Chinese culture, but also the heart of the state. So, essentially, Confucianism is the perfect belief system to be used in the government, as it advocates for a strong moral and ethical sense of being, as well as honoring the past and your ancestors, which therefore plays a role in strengthening the actual government and the state of China. Similar to the caste system in Hinduism, the reciprocating relationships of China are extremely important to the heart of the society. If you don't have a true reciprocating relationship with your family, you will also not have a strong state. So every person is tied to the health and the welfare of China. And that's kind of the core of Confucius. For example, in order to have loyal subjects, you must be a good ruler. A good ruler will therefore get or earn, the loyalty of his people. A husband needs to be a good provider for his family. Likewise, the wife must then provide and care for the home. Just as a son must be a good son to his father, the father must also set a good standard for his son. Same thing here with siblings as well as friends. This is why this is essential to Chinese society. If you understand your role in life, if you understand the part that you play, then you will have a happy home life. If you have a happy home life, then you will have a strong country. You may be wondering, where does this idea of ancestor veneration come from? It has a connection to one of the earliest belief systems that we have studied, animism. A lot of animistic societies practice honoring of the family. It goes along with honoring the spirit world around you. If you're honoring the trees and the plants that are providing you life, then you're also going to be thinking about your dead loved ones and how they are always with you. I sometimes picture in the movie Mulan, where Mushu, the little dragon guy, is talking to all of Mulan's dead ancestors, and they're like little glowing ghosts. Think of that. That's filial piety. And that is also essentially connected to a lot of animistic societies, even today. To give you an idea that this is still around, the College Board wanted to make sure that you recognized the connection between filial piety and that of other areas outside of China. So, for example, in Mesoamerica, the Lakota group, or the Lakota tribe, I should say, they practice a similar concept of filial piety, meaning all my relations. So what that essentially means is that your family, all of your relatives are always with you. You have to be mindful of that. So the concept of filial piety is not isolated to Confucianism. It's not even isolated to China. It is found in other places, which therefore tells historians that at some point in Chinese history, before they adopted Confucianism, there must have been some animistic traits that had filtered in to the Chinese peoples. The second important philosophical belief system that took root in China is that of Taoism. It sounds like I'm pronouncing it with a D, but that's because of the emphasis on the T. So it's almost like you pronounce it as Taoism. But that's how we spell it with the T, is that's the official way. And Taoism essentially started from the philosophies of Lao Tzu. One of the things that makes Taoism really unique is it's based on simplicity. This idea that humans need to essentially give up everything. They don't need possessions. You shouldn't concern yourself with power, wealth. These are secular desires, and they are going to be society's ruin. If you want to be a true Taoist, then what you need to do is live in harmony with nature. Essentially, I guess you could consider Taoists the hippies of the classical Chinese world because they just wanted to be one with nature. It's a really interesting perspective. So there should be a connection that you are thinking right here between Taoism and another belief system. In fact, Taoism and the idea of living in harmony with nature is very similar to the Buddhist belief system. You might want to go back and check out your notes there to see how exactly are they similar in this way. But one of the things that also is pretty controversial with Taoism is the fact that they also feel that social classes should be banned. Social classes are also going to be part of the ruin of society, as they believe, at least Taoists do, that social classes keep man down. And they are part of the reason why we value things like wealth, power. And if you get rid of those things, then you will also get rid of those desires that tend to disrupt the natural order of things. What makes Taoism pretty unique from a lot of the belief systems is they do not advocate for a heaven, as an afterlife really doesn't matter. When you die, you will just kind of become one with the earth. That kind of sounds similar to another belief system, except just take out the concept of your soul going to an afterlife. What belief system could that be? Something for you to consider and to think about. But they don't believe that there's an afterlife. When your body dies, it becomes one with the earth, and you essentially are a part of nature again, which is why it's so important to be in harmony with nature, so that when you die, you are a part of life going on, life carrying on, I guess you could say. One of the other things that makes Taoism controversial, but also why it can't really exist in its truest form is they don't believe that there should be governments either. What? How can you not have a government? Well, they believe that if you are living in harmony with nature, then you don't need laws. They believe that governments are part of the reasons why there are social classes. Governments are the reason why there are conflicts with other civilizations and empires, and that they essentially are unnatural. And if man were to just do what felt right and just what felt natural, he will be moral by nature. So morals are a part or ingrained in our human nature. At least that's what Taoists believe. So you shouldn't need laws telling you how to behave and what to think and what to do. So, in theory, the best government, according to Taoists, is to have no government at all, one that doesn't exist. But I think we understand human nature a little bit better than that and know that that's going to be pretty impossible to achieve. So this is why in a Chinese society, most families are Taoist at the home. They want to have harmony and balance in their home life. And if you're having harmony and balance in your home life, then you're following the Confucian reciprocating relationships, working together to create a happy home. And a happy home will therefore make a happy government, which therefore connects with Confucianism as that if you're maintaining a happy home, that will then transfer over into the government, whereby your morals and ethics, which are ingrained as part of our nature, according to Taoism, will therefore guide the government. Emperors will always do the right thing as they are Taoist in their homes, which therefore bleeds over into their government life. Now, whether or not you really believe that can be achieved, that's up to you and your personal ideas, but that's kind of the way the Chinese look at it. Taoist at home, Confucianist in the government. One of the most confusing, and I'm not going to lie, the one that I know the least about, is the belief system of Shinto. You're probably thinking, why does it say Shintoism? Well, it's an ism in the fact that it's a belief system. And every time I always think of isms, I think of belief systems. Okay? But Shinto isn't ever called Shintoism. It's just called Shinto. But the reason why I put the ism here is so that you guys don't forget about the fact that it is a belief system. It's just hard to define which type it is. Is it a religion or is it a philosophy? It's really unique, and it's primarily only practiced among the Japanese. So we're going to talk about this in the next few slides. Try to bear with me, because again, I'm not a huge expert on Shinto, but I will do my best to try to explain it as simply as I can. Okay, so here it goes. Shinto is a blend of a lot of different ideas. It's part philosophical, part religious. So what parts are the religious aspect? There are some elements of Buddhism to Shinto. And the parts of Buddhism are the emphasis on meditation. Meditation is key to the success of a true practitioner of Shinto. So that idea about meditating to try to connect and to achieve a form of enlightenment is crucial to Shinto. So it's Buddhism in its practice and its exercises, but it's animistic in its beliefs. Here's how it's animistic. If you look down here at this third bullet point, the animistic part is that some Japanese, not even all Shinto practitioners believe this, but some Japanese Shinto practitioners believe that everything has a spirit. There is spirituality everywhere on earth. The water, the sun, the land, the animals, the plants, they all have spirits, and they are all worthy of our honor and veneration. Okay? But then there's other groups of Shinto practitioners that believe more of a polytheistic view on the belief system, meaning that there are some human-like entities or gods that play a role in your life, meaning that you could be praying to human-like figures, or however you want to choose to, you could be praying to more animistic spiritual entities like the sun, the water, and the land. But the unifying concept, irregardless of these two, if you choose to follow the polytheistic part or the animistic part, the unifying practice here is this idea of meditation to achieve an understanding of the world. Here is the world's oldest shrine that is practiced in Shinto. It looks very similar to that of Buddhist shrines, and it's where a lot of people that practice Shinto will go to meditate. The majority of the people that practice Shinto are going to practice the more animistic version of the belief system. So if everything has a spirit, what do they call it? They actually have a name. They call it a kami. And every kami looks different depending on the entity in which it inhabits. A plant's kami will look different than an animal's kami, or like the water or the earth's kami. Okay, but that's the spiritual essence that they essentially believe inhabits all the aspects and all the things on earth. They believe it resides, as I said, in all things. And therefore, they believe that you need to be praying to these places. So, for example, you may have a very spiritual location by a waterfall, or if there is a very unique rock formation, that will kind of serve as a location to go and worship the kami in that particular area. They believe that if there is a unique formation or a gorgeous waterfall or a beautiful grove of cherry blossoms, then it's there for a reason. It's deserving and you should value its place there. Hence why you could go there and meditate and pray to the kami there. They also have a lot of festivals. So if you are ever wondering if they celebrate holidays, they do, where they celebrate, the coming of springtime, or celebrate the blooming of the cherry blossoms. All of those types of things are celebrated in Shinto. And again, this is only the group of people that choose to practice the animistic version, but again, that's probably the majority of the ones that practice Shinto. They favor that animistic view. They do believe in a concept of sin, which is kind of interesting. Okay, they do believe that certain things that you can do are impure, and you need to cleanse your kami of any of those impurities. So again, you can kind of see a similarity to this moral and ethical code here, that even though you're worshiping inanimate objects like rocks or waterfalls, or animate objects like plants and animals, you are also a part of that system, and you must be good as well. Because if you are impure, then you make the earth impure as well. So you must cleanse yourself through meditation, through prayer, through the festivals and the celebrations. Why a lot of historians and theologians don't believe that Shinto is a religion is because there really isn't anything about an afterlife. Very early in Japanese myths do they talk about a very gloomy afterlife that's somewhere that you really don't want to go. But over time, that kind of faded. And this idea really isn't practiced so much anymore or even believed. It's more myths and folklore, storytelling at most than anything. So the idea of an afterlife is kind of unknown. It's a big question, which is why a lot of, like I said, historians and theologians aren't really sure what to quantify Shinto as. One of the things that I did research was what happens when you die. Most religions have some sort of ritual for burial, and Shinto really doesn't have anything. So again, this is where the Buddhist practices come in, and they will perform rituals along the lines of the Buddhist religion when there is someone that passes away. Again, it's more to just honor their place in this world and the impact that they've had on the earth. This slide is really more just to kind of show you where a lot of these religious beliefs are. As I had mentioned, the truest form of Hinduism is here in Southeast Asia, as is Mahayanan Buddhism there. You can see, obviously, stereotypically, big surprise, the Middle East has a high amount of Islamic. And then, as we know, Hinduism is primarily isolated to India. So hopefully this is providing for you guys a visual representation to kind of solidify and put this all together as one. Again, no big surprise, China has their Confucianist belief systems there. Okay, and then again, Shinto isolated primarily to Japan. So hopefully this kind of provides for you a visual kind of summary as to where all of these religions are. Feel free to reference this when you need to in the future, but hopefully this will help you. And now we are officially done with learning about the belief systems. You can pat yourself on the back, because we're pretty much done with a vast majority of the flipped lessons. You won't have to worry about hearing my voice away from the classroom for a little while, so congrats on that. But what I want to end with is thinking about this concept of a universal truth that the College Board really cares about. So, obviously, I'm not going to give you the answer to this. So, I want you to ponder some questions. Consider the teachings of the law codes in Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Shinto. What do they all have in common? Consider what their practitioners are required to do. Are there any similarities? Hint, hint, hint. There's a similarity here and here, at the very least. But there's more that exist. So think about also what are some of the requirements of their practitioners that are similar, and how do all these ideas lead to a universal understanding about the world and the earth? Also consider our human place in that world. What is this universal truth that the College Board wants you to see now that you've looked at also the Eastern religions?